It's time for another edition of It's Your Business program where we tell you what you can do about taking your business to the next level. Now, whether it is a business that's been around for a long time or perhaps some new venture you're just starting out, or even if you're just thinking about a business venture, we want to help you just take that step up to the next level. I'm Wayne Turner, I'm your host, and I will be taking you through this 6-part series. I have with me our resident expert, Murray. Welcome to the program, Murray. He's going to be giving us insight into the various subjects and helping us just take it and look at it in more detail. And then the show each week is going to have a guest. Murray will chat with us about that and ask some questions there, but we'll also have a little 3-minute insert. And this is a story on the same subject by an entrepreneur who's got it right, but also have had their challenges, just so that we can get a bit of understanding how people are working as entrepreneurs and taking their businesses to the next level. So, Murray, you are our expert. What expertness do you have for us in this particular show?
Okay, so Wayne, today we speak about one of probably my favorites and one of the banes of an entrepreneur's life, what we call the engine room. And the best way to explain this is to talk about the V's. So let's talk about a V coming down like this and a V going out like this. So we call this one V1 and this one V2. Okay,
we'll probably throw this up on the screen and let people see exactly what it's all about.
And
but
in the middle of
it to us.
That's right. In the middle of it, we've got L for leader. So V1 really explains what it means to go out and get business and grow. So that's really your growth engine out there. Then your V2 is what we call your engine room. So all the business you get comes down through the leader and goes into the engine room where it all happens, the back office, the admin, the actual delivery of the work that you went out and got. As we spoke to Garth last week about marketing, he brings that down through the funnel. And where a lot of people struggle is one of two things. Either they have a lot of marketing and a tiny little back office. And when it gets down there, you can overpromise, but you underdeliver. We have the other problem where we've got this very big V2, and we've got this tiny little V1. So you're doing no marketing, but you've got all these staff that you have to pay for, all this infrastructure that needs money, and it's too hungry. So it's all dressed up and got nowhere to go. So what we're looking for is the balance between V1 and V2. So today we're speaking about what we call V2, or the engine room. And we're going to be discussing how we actually manage that, because I find with entrepreneurs, especially in smaller businesses, they spend so much time in V2, or the engine room, that they just cannot get into the marketing and growth of the organization, and then they start to stagnate. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this now are saying, I'm right there, and it is really my problem. So we've got with us Warrick, who has had a lot of time to think about engine room, and he's been working with a number of engine rooms in the companies he's been working with recently. So Warrick, why don't you just give us a bit of introduction to yourself, and then we'll ask you some questions.
Thank you very much, Murray. Thank you, Wayne, for having me on the show. I'm in a business called Columbus Cleaning Solutions. And
so can I just stop there? If I remember, these were the Columbuses that we grew up with as kids, those heavy polishers.
Oh, those floor polishers.
Those big vacuum cleaners. And you're now the MD of that company.
Correct, and it goes back way before my time. And I'm still trying to pick up some of the pieces of the history. We have such a rich history with Columbus. And it's been a privilege to step into some of those shoes. And it has been a very powerful brand which invokes various emotions in people. But the business has gone through some changes, and there's entrepreneurial flair back in the business. And it's exciting to be a part of what is the cleaning industry, essentially, and a commodity-driven business, but something that has survived the recession. And we've been very grateful to be able to serve South Africa and now hopefully abroad as we go forward.
That's fantastic. So one of the things you've obviously had to do, because I know a bit of the Columbus story, is that one thing is to get the brand revitalized in that V1 space, but you've had to do a lot of work in getting systems, structures, policies, procedures, hire and fire. I mean, you've got a nationwide business here in a number of centers. So tell us a little bit about how you have been working in your V2 or your engine room space.
Right, so I think the default is we want to run into the engine room, and especially as leaders, I know for myself, I can speak, there's a little bit of a control element in us. We want to control every aspect of the business. But it soon becomes evident that we're actually fiddling in an area which is not only not our expertise. but is essentially not going to move the needle in the business. And it became evident to us too that we were fiddling around in the wrong areas and there were no sales coming in. And that is always an ongoing tension, as you've spoken on. And I think that upper V that you allude to is simply the definition between the leader and the bottom V, the manager, and that leaders choose the right things to do and the managers do things right. And we've got to sit and focus in that top V on what are the right things to do. We've got to choose what is it for this business that's going to move the needle, what is going to keep us afloat. So we can get bogged down with the details and the perfectionism around fine-tuning the engine, but there's always this healthy tension between ensuring that we stay in that upper V and do not meddle too much in what the experts are doing in the engine room.
But the engine room has to work like clockwork. And give us some of the challenges you faced when the cogs were spinning the wrong way and teeth were missing in the gears and you've had to get it fixed up. Just in the Columbus story, just give us one or two examples of what you've had to fix.
Right, so I think my biggest challenge was we didn't have the right people in the right places.
Okay.
And so I tried to initially implement a couple of systems that I thought would work really well, but they kept falling flat. And the lesson that I took away there was that simply we need to prioritize the people we hire over the systems we implement. So I went back to a focus of finding the right people and ensuring we unleash them in those areas instead of trying to unleash the systems. Because ultimately those systems had to serve the business and not the other way around.
So before you go further, someone's maybe got a small business, maybe 2 or 3 staff, I don't know how many, but they're saying, how important is it for me to hire the right people? I might just have a friend of mine and we've started this business together. Isn't that good enough?
I think it's critical that you hire the right people from the outset. And, you know, the other travesty, as Jim Collins says, it's not everybody you start with, you finish with. And you cannot pick everybody that's going to go the whole haul with you. But at that section of your life cycle as a business, it's good to pick the people that are going to be able to not only do the job at hand, but to grow as the business grows. And that has been key for us, to actually overhire, to look for people that can grow with the business. So just hiring a warehouse manager to be a warehouse manager is no good, because soon he's going to find himself in deeper water. And we needed people that had some steel in their spine that could facilitate the growth that we are starting to look at and we're starting to plan for. And that was a precious lesson learned for us. So your people are key.
Yeah, a friend of mine put on his LinkedIn account a great quote. He said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't worry about hiring people that are smarter than you. But another area in the back office or in the engine room is to really make sure that your systems and structures are in place. And I find that people don't automate enough. I want to do manual. I want to do it myself. But when you can get good software, when you can get good automation, it can save a whole amount of time, can't it?
Yeah, most definitely. In our life cycle, we had come from a smaller business which was highly entrepreneurial by nature and had our fingers on the pulse in terms of what stock was there. You could walk past that box tomorrow and you had an idea intuitively that box should be there tomorrow. But as we grew, we realized that you could walk into a warehouse and you had no idea. You'd lost your touch of what's actually going on, what stock is on the floor. So we had to implement things like livestock. We didn't want to, because intuitively we wanted to keep it that way where we knew what was going on. But now all of a sudden we've gone from X amount of stock to Y, and that's very difficult to manage intuitively. And that's where systems come in and allow the business to be scalable. To say, right, well now we don't have 1 box anymore, we've got 10 boxes. And where are those boxes moving, and when have they come in, and when have they left? And that is where systems that are automated, as you say, have served us so well, because there's only so much that our memories as human beings can actually retain.
So we shouldn't worry about bringing in technology.
No.
Technology is often an enemy, especially in a smaller business.
Yeah.
But in large business too, it's expensive. We can't always control it. I've always had a manual system. I'll run it my way. And in comes technology.
Right.
Sorry, could I just jump in there? Would you say that the entrepreneur, that the leader needs to be stuck, he needs to be in the middle, but often you get bogged down in that. When you've got technology, it is a way for the leader to be replaced easier and to get out of that get him out
Correct.
and get him into the area that he should be in.
Yeah, correct. I think in my earlier days with Murray used an analogy of railway tracks, and I had this big vision, and this is what I wanted to do, but he said if I didn't have the railway tracks down, we were going to derail the vision, and that was key. So those systems, for instance, were some of those railway tracks for us. We needed to lay that massive vision on those railway tracks. We knew where it was going, but without it, we were going to derail at some stage. And it is key that we use those systems to serve the business best.
So
Keep
the
your vision.
leader doesn't get bogged down in that back office. He needs to be in the place that he needs to be.
No, I think it's key that a leader has a form of a dashboard to have an idea of what is going on there. But to be spending 80% of your time down where 20% of your effectiveness is, just makes absolutely no sense.
So we're saying basically for the entrepreneurial leader, they should be spending 80% of their time in V1 and 20% of their time in V2, which means they've got competent others running the engine room
Correct.
below them. So what would your advice be to someone who's got a business, but they tend to run everything? They run up V1, they run V2, they're all over the place. But then the argument I'm given is, Murray, you don't understand, I don't have the budget to hire people to run my engine room. So is it a matter of the fact is that you can't afford them or you can't afford not to have them?
Yeah, to answer your first question, I think as an entrepreneur, you cannot let what you are not good at get in the way of what you are good at. And that is what Garth alluded to in the last show. It is key to be specializing and playing to your strengths. And I think it does get to a point, and again, you speak to the life cycle of where that business is at. And I understand in the very early days that is very difficult when you're trying to hire and be a specialist, and you need to be all things to all people. But there comes a turn, and it usually can be quite early, and entrepreneurs can miss that, where it's time to, can I afford not?
That's full of risk, isn't it? Because
Most definitely.
I don't have enough income, but now I've got to pay a salary.
Correct.
What do I do?
Yeah, I think it is always a leap of faith, and it's not always easy to calculate. And I think that's where entrepreneurs need to trust their gut again. It's difficult. It's their baby. You know, they've nurtured this thing all along, and now they've got to start handing over some of the control. But to entrepreneurs, I can say that you'll always be in charge. However, being in control is something you need to slowly start relinquishing if you're planning on growth.
Okay, so here's one of the key areas that I have to deal with a lot is when the entrepreneur is a control freak. And this is my baby. In fact, I founded this organization. You don't understand. These people that are going to run it, they don't have my same passion. They don't have my experience. So my job is to come in and interfere every day and kind of like just check that they're doing it right. But sometimes I just maybe get a little bit too involved. How frustrating can that be?
Yeah, that can be very frustrating and very demotivating.
For the people in the engine room.
Most definitely. And I think the entrepreneur defaults back to that because it's what he knows. It's his comfort zone. I'm still in control. But the greatest entrepreneurs that I've worked with and currently do are those that have hired people, as you said, that are smarter than them in the room and then get out of their way. And if I can give you advice as entrepreneurs, that is pivotal. But get out of their way, allow them to do what they need to do. Don't meddle in the business, but ensure that you choose them carefully.
So as Jim Collins says, get the right people on the bus and then get the right people onto the right seat on the bus. But then let them do what they're supposed to do in that seat.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you keep meddling, I find the word I hear, apart from frustration, is disempowerment. Because every time the leader jumps in and takes over, then it disempowers me from doing my job instead of letting me learn. The other thing of the engine room is just those people often need to be encouraged and need to be rewarded for the value that they add. Often they're the unsung heroes of a business. And let me add a second part to that is I think, and I do this with clients of mine, is say to the people in the engine room, get out to the end user. Go and see where your product is going to. And I've had clients take their staff in a bakkie in Durban all the way down to Toyota and actually say, what you make here is what is happening there. And they go to the actual production line in Prospect and in Durban and see their end product. And they talk to the people working on the floor with their product. And they came back like, wow, this is our stuff. So important for that to happen?
Yeah, it's key. I think that's where vision comes in and helps join the dots between what you're currently doing and where your product's ending up. And the simple analogy, again, of somebody building a bridge, Are they aware every day that they're building a bridge, or are they simply picking up sandbags and carrying them? And by allowing those staff to actually go along and have a look at where those products end up, you've literally shown them that they're building bridges. And that excites them, that gives them meaning, it allows them to have a broader perspective of what the influence of their role is.
So what would be your advice to someone who's building a business, has got the role of having to get out in that V1 space and market and grow? They've got a small engine room. They haven't got the budget to build that engine room a whole lot, but they know that if they don't do that, they're going to have to overpromise and underdeliver. Or what would you say to a person who's on that seesaw of indecisiveness about growing that?
Well, I think by virtue of the definition of an entrepreneur, it's time for risk-taking again, and that's going to be part and parcel of every life cycle of the business. And it's time to risk with some people. And you're not going to grow with just systems and yourself. There comes a time where you're going to need a better head count. I think often we see entrepreneurs who promise the world in the showroom but come short in the stockroom. And that is going to be a balance all the time. They cannot be spending their hours in the stockroom, but your showroom cannot be outpacing. So it is key that they reach that tipping point and say, right, I cannot be found in the stockroom. I need to hire someone that's going to take care of that, so that we don't underpromise and overdeliver.
Okay, so someone's going to now say, okay, Warrick, I take your advice. I'm going to take that risk. What are some of the benefits this person's going to be rah-rahing about when they actually do put the engine room in place? What's the value? Why go all this route, extra budget, extra staff, put systems in, technology?
I think in the early stages of a business, it's survival, and one is often about get bigger, to get the economies of scale, the critical mass. But there comes a tipping point, as you've just touched on, where getting better becomes more important than getting bigger. And growth will come, but I see a lot of businesses focusing on the growth at the expense of getting better. And once you realize that by getting better and focusing on your systems and all the rest back office, your customers will grow you, and they will demand that you get bigger because the service will be better, the delivery times will be shorter, correct referrals, you'll be in stock. So you're going to have happy customers, and happy customers make for happy shareholders. And it's a cycle that continues in a business, but it takes some trust, it takes some leaning onto the unknown.
I know with my back office is when clients come to me and they say, Murray, it is so great dealing with your staff. You know, they are focused, they know, they set appointments, they give us what we want, and I'm sitting there just glowing, and I love to pass those compliments straight back to my office and say, gee, that's fantastic. But I know we've also had times when our back office hasn't been working that well, and things have happened to get a little bit wobbly. And I was amazed to see how much feedback I got from my clients, how much they noticed my invisible back office, although they hardly ever physically see my staff. So it is a point of making sure that's working, even though people feel like they're a bit invisible.
Right.
I mean, they're very much part of the team, aren't they?
Absolutely. And yes, as you said earlier, they are the unsung heroes. But as everybody understands their piece of the puzzle and the momentum that brings as a team, I think it makes for happier customers. And yes, you don't necessarily notice that somebody had individually packed that box and sealed it and stuck a barcode on the outside. But all of that makes for seamless business transitions. It makes for easier stock taking on your customer side, whatever your product or service is that you may be selling. And it's good that we place value on that engine room. It is what drives any business.
Fantastic.
Well, I'm sitting here just picking up all this information, and this whole back office thing is so important. And what we want to do now is we want to go to a video clip where we can look at exactly how someone takes the principle of the back office, or as we're calling it, the engine room, and has implemented it, and how they've faced challenges, and as Warrick has been saying, how they see some of the successes in being able to have an effective back office or engine room.
My name is Andriana Holmes. I run the Blue Room. Our company was established 14 years ago. Our core function or core priority is we focus on shopping centre marketing. Our aim is to draw additional feet into the centres and then obviously to increase turnover and customer spend and dwell time. It is a really fascinating industry to be in, very creative industry, one that we really enjoy very much and are very, very passionate about. Engine room is the backbone of the office, is the backbone of the company. Engine room is where all systems run smoothly and where all systems to run a healthy company is developed. Obviously for every company it would be different. For us those would include administration and finances and marketing of our company. But again for every company that would be different. Previously, I used to do pretty much everything from A to Z in our company, managing, doing the finances, doing the admin. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. The role of the leader is to make sure that all the systems run smoothly. The role of the leader is also to let go, and that's probably for me, that has definitely been the most difficult thing, and not because I don't trust other people, it's just because I've been used to doing everything. So I even ask my staff at times to remind me that when I want to grab something and do it, they need to tell me this is my department and I'm going to do it. So yes, the leader makes sure that all systems run smoothly in that engine room, that the relationships in the office is healthy. And for me, I need to know that when I'm not at the office, that everything is still running the way that it should. You know, whether I'm away for business for a week or whatever the case may be, I need to trust that what is happening in my office is sound and healthy. Yeah, my advice to other entrepreneurs would be to make the engine room a core priority, because without that you can't excel and your business can't grow in any way. And then it's really important to go and find the right people to establish what skills and talents you require in your business in order to execute your vision. So yes, I would really say make it a core priority. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself in the beginning, it is quite a scary thing because, you know, with expansion, you need additional funds in the company. So it's a bit, you know, what do you do first? But at some point, I think after very careful planning, one's got to take that leap of faith and do that implementation.
In that video clip, we see how Andriana Holmes has effectively implemented a great back office or engine room. Now, Murray, give us some takeouts on our chat this afternoon on just how the key aspects of implementing an engine room or a back office.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to put onto our website a matrix called the Plot-Spock matrix. Sounds a bit weird, but the Plot-Spock matrix takes you through about 7 key areas that you need to have in your engine room. And it gives you a worksheet where you can fill in each one and the actions that you need to take to make sure all the areas of your back office are taken care of. Now, this will give you an idea of where the current holes are, or the gaps are, and it will also show you maybe where you've got too much going on. So that's the first thing. The second takeout is be very aware if you have a small business where you are the entrepreneur who's supposed to be up in the V1 space and you spend too much time down in the V2 space. We generally like to see an 80-20 split, but we generally see a 20-80 split. So the person spends 20% of their time at the top and 80% at the bottom. So shift from that. And as Warrick said, it's going to take risk. You might have to hire some people, automate technology, different things that you might have to put in there to make sure that you get more time to market and make sure that you grow your business. The third thing is encourage and help the people in the engine room to feel like they're a part of the end product. Let them see what it is that they're actually doing. Let them go and visit the customer. If they come with you on a customer call, it's a very useful thing to do. And celebrate things. If you get a great deal or they do an amazing piece of work and work after hours, be free with your praise and say, thank you very much, well done, because these people become incredibly loyal. I know people who've worked in my back office for a long time. We kind of finish each other's sentences, and to keep on retraining people and Warrick has alluded to this, it's very hard to do, to get people into your culture, into your way of thinking. So make sure you spend your time building up this wonderful team of people, as we said, unsung heroes who should actually be well spoken about to your clients and beyond.
Well, Warrick, you've given us lots of food for thought. The nice thing about it is that we're actually seeing people who are implementing it in business. So much theory goes around in business schools and MBAs and all the rest of it, but we're getting a bit of a mini MBA here on It's Your Business. We really appreciate the time and effort that you've taken to be with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Wayne.
Murray, thanks so much. Our resident expert, Murray Kilgour. That's all we have for this edition. We will be back with you next week, giving you more information that will take you to your next level in your entrepreneurial business. We've got a number of subjects coming up, but you stay tuned till next week and we'll have our next edition of It's Your Business. Till then, thanks for joining us.